Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed, where dreams can be lost or found. As you look out through the
Welcome to our show. This is Healing Outside the Box, and I'm your co-host, Traci Crampton. I'm an energy practitioner.
And I'm your other co-host, Rosemary Lachance, and I'm an a Reiki practitioner. And tonight we have with us two wonderful guests. We have Judy Martone-Peluso, and we have Gregory Bizik.
That's right.
Okay. I'm going to read first of all, but before I do that, I want to say welcome. Thank you for being on our show tonight. Okay. I'm going to read a little bit about Judy first. Judy Martone-Peluso is a spiritual counselor who holds a BA in psychology from Mount St. Vincent's, New York, and is certified to practice energy healing from the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences in Connecticut. Judy was a Sister of Charity for 19 years, where she worked as a teacher, spiritual counselor, social worker, community organizer, and social activist. Wow. She studied theology with Reverend Daniel Berrigan, S.J. Although no longer affiliated with an organized religion, Judy is an ordained minister with Universal Life Church, which embraces and encourages deep personal spiritual growth. She is licensed to perform life ceremonies such as marriages, civil unions, baptisms, celebration of life, funerals, and memorial services. She teaches at the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences and at the Connecticut Healing Institute. Judy has been in private practice for over 25 years. During this time, she has been privileged to study death and dying, grief and bereavement with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, Stephen Levine, and Peter Lynch. She has studied shamanic practices with Michael Harner and Gregory Bizik, as well as other medicine people. Judy is a student of life and seeks to learn through every life experience and every person she meets. Her services include holistic psychotherapy, grief and bereavement counseling, spiritual counseling and mentoring, energy medicine, shamanism, and massage therapy. Excuse me. She believes personal growth is a deeply spiritual process which requires the integration of body, mind, and spirit. Such integration necessitates awareness of self and of our connectedness to Mother Earth and all of life. This in turn contributes toward building a society based on love, compassion, and acceptance of all beings. Very beautiful, Judy.
And I'd like to introduce Gregory Bizik. Gregory is a shamanic priest, minister of the Circle of the Sacred Earth Church, and the founder and director of the Center Pole, an organization founded in 1994. The Center Pole is dedicated to keeping ancient spiritual traditions alive. Since its inception, the Center Pole has run over 200 workshops while also sponsoring shamans from traditions around the world. These trainings include prayer, meditation, the shamanic journey, healing, soul retrieval, divination, can you help me with that? Depossession, ritual, and much more. Greg began his formal spiritual training in 1972 when he became a solitary monk with the Hindu Brahmacharya, thank you, vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. In 1974, he was accepted to live in a Hindu ashram, that's a monastery, under the tutelage of Guru Maharaji of Hardwar, India, where he stayed for an additional 5 years. Beginning in 1982, Greg was trained in a number of healing modalities, including deep connective tissue manipulation, Swedish massage, foot reflexology, cranial sacral, Reiki, therapeutic touch, polarity, hypnotherapy, NLP, Mariel healing, counseling, and extensive training in shamanic healing practices. In 1989, Greg began his formal shamanic studies with Dr. Michael Harner from the Foundation of Shamanic Studies, where he completed the Foundation's most advanced and extensive 3-year training in 1997. Since then, he has studied in Nepal on 3 different occasions with the local shamans and now co-sponsors shamanic pilgrimages to that country with Dr. Larry Peters. He is a Chele, also a student, of Ama Bombo of Bodhanath. Sorry,
Nepal.
thought I had these down. Nepal, who is recognized as one of the 13 indigenous grandmothers of the world. Greg has also studied and worked with many shamans from around the world, including Native American, Peruvian, Korean, Gypsy, Mongolian, and Tibetan traditions. An active meditator, spiritual practitioner, and researcher for over 35 years, Greg has formulated and taught many trainings and techniques to help individuals understand their own sacredness within. His roots have helped inspire and transform hundreds of individuals over the past 15 years. Greg maintains a private practice in Middletown, Connecticut, where he shares a historic Victorian house with 2 other humans, 5 cats, and 4 parrots.
That's right.
Wow. That was probably the most impressive part.
The 2 women also.
Share your house with all those people.
That's right.
Welcome to our show.
Thank
Yes,
you very much.
very much. So, would you like to, Judy, you have been on quite a spiritual journey for most of your life. When and what was it that started you on your journey?
Wow. Actually, my journey started when I was a child. I was born into a situation with a mother who was bedridden with serious multiple sclerosis. And I took care of her. And I had a grandmother who was very religious and spiritual, who I loved very deeply. So my spiritual growth began then. It was one of my ways of surviving. It was a lonely childhood. I was an only child. And
like
most
me.
of the, most of the time I was at home taking care of my mother, and I had a lot of time to reflect. I learned a lot about caring. I learned a lot about human suffering. Learned a lot about myself, because I can't say I did that totally altruistically. It was very difficult. And I went to Catholic schools and was very moved by the nuns there and by the teachings. And I think I just came into this lifetime with a very deep spiritual quest. And my quest continued. My whole life has been, I think, based on a foundation of spirituality. It used to be more connected with religion. But as I continued to grow, as I often say to people, as I got to know Christ and studied and meditated on the Gospels, I became more spiritual and less religious. That for me, religion was no longer a road, a journey through which I could become more spiritual. And so now my spirituality has encompassed a lot of different disciplines and a lot of different modalities. And from the time I was a child, I wanted to help people, which did lead me into the convent, where I was a teacher, a social worker, then a social activist. Spent some spent time in jail for what I believed in, and still feel very strongly
Good for you.
about the connection.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about the connection not only of body, mind, and spirit, but how we're affected by society as a whole. So in my work, I really try to integrate all of that. So it has been quite a quest, and it's been one step after another. And I feel very blessed. It's not always an easy journey. For a long time, I wanted to find one way. And it took me a long time to accept the fact that I'm not someone whose journey is just one road. There are many paths, and I try to be open to what comes to me, what presents itself to me, and where I'm led.
That's right. Yeah, really. It is excellent. And there is a difference that I want the people to know between spirituality and religion.
Yes, I
Big
feel
difference
very
between them
strongly.
both, yes.
I feel very
So-
strongly about that. I think, to me, the purpose of religion is that we can grow spiritually. If religion does not serve that purpose, then, as far as I'm concerned, it's useless. I do have some very strong feelings about religion. I think it has, in many cases, placed many burdens on people. And to me, the spirit of, if you want to use the word God, great spirit, that being of light, that spirit is about learning to love not only other people but ourselves. And my hope is, and I know it's happening more in some religions, that those who choose religion as a path would find it a vehicle to feel better about themselves, to really discover that life is to learn from, not to feel badly about ourselves. We're all going to make mistakes.
Right.
That's why we're here.
And hopefully they'll be learning that
Exactly.
we're connected and there is no separation, which unfortunately some people learn it the opposite way with religion.
Yes.
you know.
That's what religion kind of does, separates us, saying that this way is the only way and that way is the only way. And
And if you do certain things, you're absolutely wrong, and you're not presented really with the encouragement to learn from it, to look at it and learn from it. Instead, one is left to feel very badly about oneself.
It's true. That's true.
When do you feel that your road from, your road from religion to spirituality, was there a time in your life where you felt that divide happening, and was it difficult for you?
No, it happened very naturally. I guess in a way it was difficult because I was questioning so deeply. I was still in the convent at the time. And I was very blessed to meet just wonderful, wonderful people, both within the convent. You know, religious life is a microcosm of society. You know, you have some of the most wonderful people and some of the most awful people. I met both. But fortunately, those who really came into my path were really very valuable teachers. And as I said, I had the opportunity to really study and meditate on the Gospels of Christ, which a lot of people within Christianity don't have that opportunity. They only get to hear what's quoted to them on the pulpit.
Right.
And having that opportunity led me into all kinds of social justice work, because to me that was the message of Christ. And the more I saw what I believed to be contradictions happening within religion, the less religion meant to me. And there was a time where, even when I was still in the order, I stopped going to church, except for certain liturgies that we created ourselves. Some of the priests and nuns and other, people that I knew, that were liturgies based on love, on respect for all life, and based on the understanding of human suffering and how to alleviate that. So that's where the idea of the difference between spirituality and religion started to take root. And so I never felt guilty about it, because it was a natural progression.
Like I
really felt I was following Christ, and that I was following God. I don't, believe in the same way I used to. I believe in many other ways of seeing life. And I don't think there is any one way. And I don't believe that being, that great being that we call God, Yahweh, Goddess, whatever words we use, I believe that being is very compassionate. Does not judge, does not punish.
Right.
But rather guides us to learn, to grow, and to evolve. And I guess that is the message that I hope to bring to people in the various modalities in which I work.
That's a beautiful message.
Yes.
That really is. That's what people need to hear. You, I see you, one of your workshops, you have workshops, and one of them is stress management. One is Introduction to Shamanism, Spiritual Mentoring Program, Grief and Bereavement. Tell us just a little bit about stress management, as these days most everyone is so stressed out, so they might come to your class. Tell us about it.
Well, I don't have one going now, but
Okay.
To me, the biggest way to relieve stress is to learn to live in the present. I think, yeah.
We've talked about that on this show.
I think that is the most valuable way, because all we have is the present. And I know for myself, when I'm stressed out, I'm not living in the present. I'm either living the past, which creates fears about the future. And that when I can bring myself into the moment and look around and go, wait a minute, what do I have to fear in this moment? And the answer is nothing.
Right.
That
you have
fears are
everything
usually
you need.
based on what might happen down the road. So that, to me, that's the overall way. Then there are things we can do for ourselves to be conscious of bringing newness into our lives. Even something as simple as driving a different way home. You know, to break out of the ruts we create for ourselves. To take the time to really look at nature. To me, nature is a great healer. To take the time to notice a sunset, a sunrise. I definitely don't see enough sunrises. I'm not a morning person,
I've been watching
unfortunately.
them this week. They've been beautiful. Orange. Yeah, I have children who wake up early, so
that
I
helps.
get to bed.
You know, so really choosing things and very consciously bringing them into our lives on a daily basis. Breathing, taking time out of the day to just, I often say to people, go into the bathroom. If you're working in an environment where you feel you can't be alone, go into the bathroom. Take that time to just really breathe, to feel your body, to feel yourself in your body. A lot of us have learned that it's holy to be out of our bodies. Well, we're spirits who have come to have a human experience. We need to be in our bodies. That's what enables us to be on this planet. And I think especially us as women, we're really taught to disconnect from our bodies.
Right.
Our
We're
bodies
taught
are
to-
never right, no
right.
matter what
The images.
size we are. You know, as we were discussing before the program.
You hear that, ladies?
You know, but so to take time throughout the day to really come back to oneself, you know, to check in, you know, to be here, to breathe, and to just bring different. Of course, there are things like massage are wonderful, facials,
Right.
meditation, talking to a friend. You know, there are
Making
many
that
ways.
connection with
Yeah.
someone of
Pampering
like
with your
mind.
body. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so important to me, making
Yeah.
that connection with someone of like mind. When I start to get all so stressed out, and then I talk to someone of like mind, and I get centered again.
Yes.
And it's so
we
great.
Reach out to one
Yeah,
another.
that connection it's so important for me. It really, really is. And I have another question. You are a holistic psychotherapist. How does this differ from a conventional psychotherapist?
Well,
Because why someone would seek you out other than a conventional psychotherapist?
well, first of all, as I mentioned before, I see the connection between body, mind, and spirit and society as a whole. And so in my work, I bring all that in. I also approach work from the belief that I have that I'm there as a facilitator. I don't have answers. My hope is to mirror back to people what they already know and to find what they have inside.
Right.
To me, doing deep internal work, whether it's done with a conventional therapist or a more alternative therapist, when one really looks within with integrity, that's spiritual. In my work,
Absolutely.
it has become consciously spiritual with people. People who come to me come because they want to talk about spirituality. They want to see how their spiritual life and their everyday life meshes, you know. And I really do try to help them to do that, but I do that by mirroring back to them, by integrating everything that's around us, and by hopefully guiding people to find the answers within. Certainly, you know, I give advice, I express opinions. I don't just sit there silently and listen, because part of the mirroring is to give feedback off of what I'm hearing and as I put things together. And as I said, I do try to help people to see how everything is connected and how we're connected to all beings. I'm not somebody who can diagnose. I'm not somebody who can prescribe medication. I'm not opposed to medication. I think it has its place. I am concerned that it's being used so frequently at this point. I often have people come to me who have just gone through a devastating loss, and the first thing their doctor says to them is they should go on antidepressants. And perhaps for some people that might be necessary. However, grief is a very deep, deep process. And it's very disturbing to go through grief, and it's often very disturbing to people around those going through grief.
Right, they don't know how to support them.
Because the emotions can be very scary. They're very powerful. And yet, grief, I think, is one of the most healing experiences we go through, and there's not a one of us who's not going to go through it. Not a one of us. And it doesn't matter how much we know about it. It's difficult. And we need to encourage one another to go through it.
It's a more difficult process in our culture? Do you think that our culture makes it more difficult because of its lack of tradition, spiritual connection and tradition? And
well, some of that, I have to say, those who don't have a conscious spiritual foundation, I think we're all spiritual whether we're conscious of it or not. But I do think it is much harder for people who don't have a conscious spiritual foundation. I also think our society makes it difficult because there's an attitude towards grieving, which is just get on with your life. Get over it.
Slap a Band-Aid on it and move on.
Right.
And each person is very different. There's no time frame that one can go by. Well, if you do it for this long and this long, because everyone's different, each relationship is different. And I think our society is becoming more conscious of the grieving process and allowing for it more than ever before. But to this day, I still have people come in and they're being told by relatives and friends, okay, you have to get over this, distract yourself, get on with your life. And sometimes this is like a month after a very close person died. It's not like it's, years down the road. So it does make it difficult when there isn't a support system that helps to guide people and help them through that process. And help them to know that they're sane, because one can feel very crazy in the midst of grief, because it is very powerful.
When I lost my son, it took me 4 years of grief. And during those 4 years, I wasn't like a miserable person, but I just kept going within, and I just opened more and more, and I learned so much about myself because I stayed by myself a lot. I just stayed alone because I needed to do that, and I relished in the memories of him and all the things that we had together, And I needed that time, and my friends let me have that time, and it was good, and it really, really helped. And of course, my spiritual belief, if it was not for my spiritual belief, I don't know that I would have survived at all. But that is so important, and that helps so much.
Absolutely.
Believing in life after death, reincarnation, everything. So, yes, I agree with you 100%. It's fantastic. It really is.
Do you help people to open up to more of the belief about, this is an energy that still exists around you, and how they can
when people are
still
open to that,
feel that that person's energy?
To that. I don't want to impose my beliefs on people. I do share sometimes what my belief is. But I do work with people who don't believe in that. I work with some people who would like to believe. They say they would like to, but they don't.
Right.
And when they ask me questions, I'm willing to share what my belief is. But I'd like to be very careful not to impose my belief, because I have no right to judge another person's journey. Someone's journey may be to live this life without that belief, and to learn how to move through life without that belief, or to find it at the very end of life or after life. So.
Okay, now tell us about how you got into shamanism and how you met Greg here. And we will speak with Greg. So tell us about that, please.
Well, meeting Greg was a blessing. And I felt drawn to shamanism before I knew what it was. The first time I heard the word, it woke up something in me. I knew that there was some place in me that had experienced shamanism before. And I started to look into it. I did a workshop that Michael Harner gave in New York City some years ago. I forgot how many years now. And I was still interested in shamanism, but didn't know where to go with it. I wasn't personally drawn to Michael as a teacher. And a friend of mine mentioned that she had met this shamanic teacher named Gregory Bisick. And I said, At that point, I didn't think I was going to pursue it anymore. I said, give me his number. Next thing I knew, I found myself dialing his number, and he answered the phone. And he was starting a workshop. I went to see him, first of all, and he had a workshop going, so I took classes for a couple of years with him, and I hope in the future to study more, too, when the time is right. And occasionally I do individual sessions with him, and he's my brother. His brother Wolf.
That's right.
And I love him very deeply, and he's a wonderful teacher. He's the real thing.
That's nice.
Gregory, can you define the word shaman for us? What is a shaman?
What is a shaman? Loaded question. You'll never find the same definition twice. Everybody has a different definition for it. Basically, the word shaman means to heat. And heat transforms.
Oh, wow.
So what happened years ago?
Like the sweat lodges, is that how that
something like that, you know. But years ago, anthropologists started studying different cultures around the world and realized that they needed to get away from sitting on the outskirts and sipping their tea and taking notes from outside. When they started getting involved with the communities, they realized that there was a certain individual, or two or three, depending how large the village was, that held a sacred space, that were the healers, that also were they were the storytellers, they were the keepers of the stories. They had an intimate relationship with the spiritual world, and they basically were the center and the foundation of the village, because they were the portals between the worlds. They could communicate with the spirits on the other side and bring messages back. And not only could they do that, but they could also they also knew how to negotiate those realms, because they could journey into the spiritual worlds and get information. Not just ask them to come here, the spirits to come here, come to me, but the shaman is capable of moving over into that spiritual world and to journey into that world and negotiate it and understand it thoroughly. And so what happened was, when all these anthropologists were trying, they found that there was these people in every village, that they had all different names according to their language. And so it was very confusing when they would talk about the jackery or the bombo or this one or that one. So they chose a name, a Siberian name, which was shaman, which designated this particular person. This is the person that holds this space for the village. And they decided, and I think Mircea Eliade was the individual that really helped solidify this. They said, let's take this word shaman and apply it to all people that do this work around the world. So now we say,
so it
now
is
the shaman of the village, we know who that is and what that is. But the shaman's one who knows how to negotiate these realms, inside and also outside, within, and also knows how to negotiate the external world, because the external world is nothing more than a shadow of the internal world. And they find this is where real power is. And a shaman goes after power, the power not to control others, but the power to be in harmony with others. And so this is, that's basically what shaman is. Shamanism has been deemed the mother of all religions and of all healing modalities. So whether we know it or not, all religions come out of shamanism. All healing modalities, even the AMA, comes out of shamanism. And has its roots there, and really needs to be, again, brought forward again, because we know this is the problem we have with a lot of the healing things that the AMA and these cultures, is that they've cut their roots off, and the spiritual roots. And so this is what it has to be, and it's happening now, slowly, to be brought back into mainstream society. And spiritual people now understand how important this is. And the word religion really is, I look at religions as cuisines. Cuisine nourishes the body.
Right.
Religion should nourish the soul. And you can feel free to move around, and you can have some Chinese food and some Italian food and mix it up. Because the biggest thing, the most important thing is to have a spiritual experience, like Judy was saying here. And that's what we're after. We're after to come home, to come into our hearts, you know, and to have that beautiful experience within inside of ourselves. There's a lot of roads to it, but they all lead to one thing. A lot of names, you know, and we can get caught up. Even the word religion. Now, religion really is a personal thing. It shouldn't be canned. Yes, we can believe with other people and go to church, but it has to be living and well inside of us. And we should feel free to, and then be able to ask questions, which some religions don't allow you to, but you know, we need to ask questions and be really authentic. And shamanic work is really about being authentic, being in your power, being an authentic human being. So hopefully that's
the thing that always bothered me when I started my search, and I went from religion to religion, from book to book, from study to study, from everything, was anyone who said to me, "This way is the only way." I would not walk. I would run away. Because I could never think, well, oh my God, only that group of people are going to survive and go to heaven or make it back home, and the rest of them are not. So that's why the word religion just bothered me.
That's evolved because of certain reasons, and that's okay. It's just that we don't need to believe in that anymore. I think we're wise enough, there's enough information now to realize that most religions are conglomerations of a lot of other religions melted into one. There is only one religion, but it's yours. It's personal.
Right.
It's your structure, and it's free. You're free to move it, and it's a structure. And like your house, you're free to knock down a wall. You knock down a wall, or to add an addition, or subtract from it if you need to. There is one religion, and that's the one that you have within your heart. And if you don't have that, if you're believing on the outside all the time, you know, then we're in a lot of trouble. Then we get the wars, and then we get what we have now going on, in the world. So this is the thing that we have to be. We have intelligence and we have to use it. It's blind belief is something that we need to kind of like go beyond that if we can, and really try to delve into our hearts, our minds, and to see what feeds our hearts and minds and not what detracts.
I always thought that shamanism was just American Indians, but I see you were in Nepal. And what is it the same in Nepal? I mean, it's just the same thing, exactly, right?
It's the same thing. It's the people who hold the sacred space and work with the spirits. You know, it's all around the world. And that's the thing about shamanism. Shamanism is everywhere, pervades the world. In Nepal, it's beautiful because 80% of all healing is still done by the shamans. There are shamans all over the place, and they're very wonderful people. And like Jude said, there's always the wonderful, and there's always the ones that misuse their power.
Get the ego involved.
Well, that's it, Traci. When the ego gets involved, a little bit of power comes in. Wherever there's a weakness, it's going to go there. It's going to tickle that area. And if you don't want to work with that, and let them go through it. That's okay. Let them get to their egos. It's part of the process. A lot of people, when they have a spiritual teacher and they leave them when they say, well, I saw they had a flaw. Well,
I
saw they were
expect them not to.
They gain too much weight, or they don't believe this and that. It's just like, well, we're all human. We're doing the best we can, And so, what I try to do with people that I see, and I try to do the same thing with myself, and that is just to have compassion and understand we're all going through a great battle. And not just so much on the outside, but inside, and to love each other and to create a lot of space for each other.
That's so true.
Yeah, I had a question about journeying. Can either of you explain to our audience what journeying is?
Sure.
Okay.
Want to do that?
I know that's a common catchphrase.
The journey. This is what separates shamanism from a lot of other healers. A lot of other healers, again, they function here in this physical world, calling spirits to them. And the shaman actually journeys through a trance state with an intention to see something or to meet a spirit, to get information. In shamanic work, everything is seen to have a spirit. The world is alive. God, Yahweh, like you said, or whatever you want to call it, Brahman is everywhere in everything. There's no other than that. There is no other. There's just one, and everything is one. And so therefore, we go into within ourselves, within our own minds, which is kind of like our own egos, because we have certain aspects to our own personalities, but we create a pathway and we go to a sacred realm through the intention, and we start visualizing, because visual, the aspect of seeing things allows us to understand them better. Like they say, a picture means 1,000 words. So the language of the spirit is seeing, is this visual stuff. And so what happens is we get played, we go into, and we meet like a power animal in the lower world. A power animal is something that, like a gatekeeper, like in the upper world in Christianity, we've got St. Peter at the pearly gates. In the lower world, we have a power animal, an animal that represents perhaps our limbic system, which allows us to get in tune with our power of who we are as a human being within this body. We honor our physical bodies, we honor our sexuality, we honor the emotional body, everything that's here. We have to honor that. When we try to skip over that, like a lot of religions do,
Enlightenment,
we lose our
they
power.
think that just get to the spiritual aspect of yourself rather than the part that's already
right.
grounded.
We go through the mother first. You've got to embrace the mother. We have to embrace the spirit, embrace the physical body, embrace the elements. And so we go inside of ourselves and we visualize seeing things, and we pay attention, because there's a place within all of us that connects to all things. It's called a sacred space. It's where all things are one and all things play out. And shamans go into that sacred space and get all the information they need so they can come back into ordinary reality and help with healing. They can go and ask for more power. They can ask to be possessed if they want to by certain spirits and say, please help me. My sister, my brother's is ill. They need help. What can you do?
To take within them the energy of that spirit,
yes, to come through and then to apply it. There's things called extraction healing. You extract things out, and then there's things that you put energy back in. There's many different ways to do healing for people, but also to explore your own truths. It's just not shamanic work. A lot of people say, well, it means a healer. But not just a healer of others, it's also a healer of yourself. We have to be able to heal ourselves before we can heal others. And shamanic work is really meant to do that. It's meant to, I always say like this, once you understand that there is something greater than yourself, then we pray to that thing, because that weakens the ego. You say, I'm not the greatest in the world, or I'm not the worst in the world, I'm just in the world. We make a connection. From there we go into meditation. Meditation allows us to experience that beauty inside of us. Where we have trouble experiencing that beauty is because we've got some kind of flaws, some kind of ego stuff going on for us. Shamanic work helps clear up things, helps clear up the path, helps heal us in those ways. Where we can't, we have trouble finding ourselves, having trouble illuminating, shamanic work helps clear that path. That's what shamans do, is help clear the path so the soul can illuminate. We can't help anybody illuminate, but we can help clear the path so they can illuminate.
Absolutely.
So that's what the shamans generally do around the world. Now obviously if there's physical illness, they work there too, but also it's about the illumination process. Ultimately that's the basic thing. Again, shamanism is the mother of all religions.
So if we came to, like I took a couple of journeys with Judy, and went to see my power animals in the lower world twice, and then went to the upper world. So can you tell people, if someone's out there interested in coming to either one of you to have a journey, what it might be like for them? Why would they come, and what it would be like for them?
Well, people come because they're having, they come for all reasons. Sometimes they're having some problems getting along with life. Sometimes they're doing well with life, but they feel like, I know there's more. So depending, everybody's different, and everybody's problems, you just have to approach everybody differently. And so I'm sure Judy probably does the same thing. We just probably we listen to them. Of course, we have to gain rapport with them, listen to them, and see what kind of person they are, to see if this is something that would be good for them. You don't want to just throw the journey on them. Even if they come in and they say, I want a journey. There's been plenty of people I said, we're not ready
Work
yet.
to do ahead of time. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
This is not time to do that. Let's talk about these things first.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
But then if they're really into it and I feel like they're ready, then it's a very simple process. It's something we used to do as children very easily. I know when I was a kid, I would lay in the fields, and we had old man Rockwell down the street used to have chickens, and we used to call them chicken hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Overhead. So I used to envision myself riding in the back of the chicken hawk and seeing the chickens and checking out the neighborhood, checking out to see who my brother was. And I'd fly all around to see where my friends were. And a lot of times I found out that that was true. So I think a lot of kids, when they're small, we
Power
do
of our
certain
imagination,
things
which
like that.
we lose over time. We get into this
It's
state
unfortunate
of,
because
I think that the adults discourage it, and after a while we lose it. And
it's just your imagination.
It's how we become creators in this world, I believe, through the imagination.
Yeah. Well, in religion, they say the seers are the ones. They see. They see visions.
Right.
That's the whole process, is to see visions. Not to be afraid that it just wasn't for a specific few, just for a few people. It's for all of us.
Absolutely.
Everybody has the capability. Everybody. All you have to do is say, yes, let me try. That's all. So they say knocking the door is opened. It's nothing to do with Satanism, like people have fears sometimes, or something very strange. It makes more sense than anything in the world. When you stop and take a look at it and you start dissecting it, like Judy said when she studied the Bible, you take time. We take time for so many things in life, but so seldom do we take time for ourselves to really delve into who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? What are there any answers?
Right.
And yes, we can have those answers. Most of the time they don't come in words. They come through experience.
Images.
Your heart knows it. You can't explain to anybody that, you can't explain love. But you know it. And when you find that place inside, something happens. You get something called, we call it an inner smile, an inner bliss. No one knows you're there, but you feel it. You know it's there. You can't define it. But it's there whenever you want it. You just go in there, breathe. And that's what shamanic work helps to do. And basically that's why it's been around for 10,000 or 30,000, or maybe even 100,000 years. They even feel like Neanderthal man did aspects of shamanic work. Cro-Magnon man in the caves in France, they knew they had shamans then because of the pictures on the walls and stuff. So it's ancient. It's not New Age, it's Stone Age. It's Stone Age.
I like that. Even Christ said, that when people were remarking about the things that he did, and this isn't taught a whole lot, but one of the things he said, all that I do and more, you too can do.
That's right. I remember that.
And basically he was here to teach and to help us get in touch with the power within. And that power within is the connection to the oneness. And we all have it.
Right.
That's and it's
and
not
our
just
job,
for
I think
some
our
people
jobs are, all of us here are to help people get in touch with that. It's not about going to somebody externally for the rest of your life and getting a pill or some type of therapy, but to feel that you can bring that from within and heal oneself over time and not need those external.
That's the purpose of our show, is to tell the people the choices that they have, and to bring on wonderful guests like you, so you in different fields, to tell the people so they can start to go within and wake up.
And to see that they have many ways.
Well, all your guests
many ways,
practice in shamanism.
Yes.
They don't know that. They may not classify that as that. But if you're doing healing, if you work within sacred space, you're doing an aspect of shamanism. All the arts, all dancers, all poets, all singers, these are the arts. What do? They open you up.
That's right.
They open you up so that they become, they're portals to have you come in and experience something within yourself.
I see you're the minister of the Circle of the Sacred Earth Church. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Sure. I have a friend who started that. He was actually a cardinal in the Catholic Church and had a very shamanic experience when he was serving over in France. And came back and decided to leave the Catholic Church and started studying with Michael Harner, who was my mentor also, one of my mentors, and realized that he loved doing ceremonies and services, and he realized that people who practice shamanism, This is the ancient religion, and the current religion, it's not even a religion, it's beyond religion, actually. But he said we all should be able to experience that, experience ritual. And one thing he felt, and I feel is a shame, is that I think we all should be able to do Mass in our houses or hold sacred ritual in our houses. We're all empowered. We should all be empowered to do that. That's when we really go beyond, our own feelings of who I am or ideas of who I am, and really experience something powerful, very beautiful. And so without that beauty in our lives, we'll try to find it in other places. If you can't find it within you, you're going to find it in drugs and alcohol or racing cars. You're going to be lurching for
Escapism,
here, because we need it. We need the feeling of that beauty inside. And those things, they kind of, sometimes you do daring things, and, you have to be completely focused or you're going to die. And so they go, well, isn't that great,
Yeah.
But,
ecstasy that they're trying to
there's
touch.
easier ways to go about it. We don't have to lose our life to find that experience,
And you're also the founder and director of the Center Pole organization. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, the Center Pole is an organization I started in '94 when I started getting a lot of I was doing shamanic work for about 4 or 5 years. And I was getting a lot of therapists coming to me and loving this work, and they kept on asking me, when are you going to hold a training? I want to be trained in it. So in 1994, I decided to start training people. And I think shortly, I think you were in my second group, I think.
Yes,
The
exactly,
second group, yeah. And so I started holding trainings back then, and I continued to do that till today. And the Center Pole represents the world tree, the sacred mountain. It's the space where all things are connected and attuned, all the worlds. In all religions, they say there's 3 worlds, an upper, middle, and a lower. I know some traditions say that one world is an evil world or a bad world, not according to most religions. Some are just, more bound, or the lower
Denser,
world. Denser religions and stuff, and some say that there's evil beings there or something. Those are the religions that are afraid of really grounding and don't want anything to do with the world, and therefore they try to skip over that, which I feel is a shame, because a body is a very beautiful thing. It has a tremendous capacity to experience and to learn. We shouldn't short-circuit it or try to condemn it. So the 3 worlds represent all aspects of ourselves, and the Center Pole represents the pole which connects all those. Or for people who understand the chakras, it represents the Sushumna, the central channel, the spinal column, where all worlds are connected and tuned. And so I named after doing a journey, knowing I was going to do that, I got information to call it the Center Pole. And so that's my teaching element. Faction that I go ahead and I teach through the Center Pole.
Oh, that's great to know. We want to do that. We know where we can go.
Yes, I'd love to do that. Judy, can you tell us a little bit more about power animals and how you work with somebody through journeying to meet up with their power animal and what that represents to each person?
Well, the way I see it, and as Greg said, it is a matter of knowing if a person's ready. That I too, if somebody just comes and says, gee, I want to do a journey, I say, okay, let's do it. We have to look into that. To me, the power animal, one of the ways that I describe it to people is the power animal is sort of like the primary physician. That's how I see the power animal.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Kind of like the one who walks with us. And I like what you said before, Greg, that helps us to tune into our power. And journeying into the lower world, it's moving through a tunnel through the earth. To me, the lower world is like the energy of the earth. It's like the energetic aura, the ethereal body of the earth. That's what it's like to me. It's a whole other dimension. It's very earth-like and different. And when one journeys there, to seek a power animal, first one has to be willing to let go of the outcome, of being willing to be open to whatever form that being will take. Because sometimes it's a big surprise,
Was a surprise for me when I did that. Yep.
And that being, contains the power that's necessary for our, your particular journey here. And the more we relate to our power animal, and there could be more than one. It doesn't have to only be one. because they're different aspects of ourselves. And the more we relate to that being and establish a deeper relationship with that being, the easier it is to access the guidance and the power of that being. In working with Greg, one of the things that I found also very helpful was differentiating between power animals and totem animals. You know, doing journeys through the different various chakras. I consider those animals, this is my interpretation, I don't know if it would fit for you, but I consider them more like the specialists. You know? I have an issue that deals with, you know, my heart chakra. So I envision the tunnel that I'm journeying through as the light of the heart chakra, a rose-colored light or a green-colored light tunnel. And I seek out the totem animal who's going to guide me with that particular issue. So that's how I see the journeys into the low world with the power animals and the totem animals. So I see the power animal as the primary physician, who's the overall guide, and the totem animals as the specialists who are going to help with the particular issues.
So you call on them when you have things you want to work on and so forth.
Yes. And that's why you'll see in my office, I have fetishes that represent different animals. I have the medicine cards. I'm very conscious when I see an animal, if I'm driving or walking in the woods, I take it very seriously that a certain animal happens to cross my path, and really then pay attention to what the teaching of that being is.
I had a cute story about recently, you know, Thanksgiving just passed, and I was telling a friend how to use her. She had power animal cards as well, or medicine animal cards. And she said, I told her that if a card jumps out, it's significant. You know, if you're shuffling and it jumps out. She said, well, you know, it was a day before Thanksgiving, and she was shuffling, and a card like jumped out and flew across the room, and it was a turkey. She said, I was trying to get away.
How perfect.
It was very cute.
Oh, that is.
She's like, I think he was trying to get away, so he wasn't eating.
Oh, that's good.
And that's another aspect of shamanism, which I would ask you to speak to, is divination.
Right. Divination really,
That's what that is.
divination is communicating with the spirits. The universe is alive. Where's God not? Is God dead somewhere? Is God
That's
dead
what a lot
in
of
rock?
people are thinking these days. Oh my
So
goodness.
removed,
everything's-
an entity that's removed from us that we never see. Yeah.
Right. So God's not dead. God is in everything. I mean, depending on what you want to call that energy or that great mystery, everything's alive. Everything is teeming with spirits, and we can communicate with them. And so when you start practicing divination and shamanic work, going through the woods and seeing an animal, it's communicating with you. We think, oh, I see an animal. You don't say, well, that animal's seeing me. Why is it following me? You know, doing shamanic work, you would say, well,
There's some significance
Why
to
is that stone why am I attracted to that stone? Maybe there's a message. Maybe it's something I need to, to go and sit in that stone and ask it a question. That sounds crazy. But in shamanic work, I did a workshop a few years ago in Washington, and I asked everybody to go out and to hug a tree and to ask the tree about death and dying. And they all kind of laughed at first, but they came back with some tremendous information.
I love to hug trees.
Yeah.
I could
Very
just feel
powerful.
the power. Yeah, that's what I feel, the power. I love them. Because there's spirit in nature kingdoms, and there's spirit in the minerals, which are the rocks and stones and things that we see too. Yeah, they have spirit
Everything is
also.
alive.
Everything is alive.
You know what I think? I would like to hear, and I'm sure our audience, like, if you were to say, if you were to meet with a client, what do you think is the most important message you want to give them regarding their healing journey? How do you connect with them?
That they have the power within themselves.
Okay.
And the answers are within. And we all need one another,
Yes.
We all do. And the challenge in life, I think, is to develop interdependency, a healthy dependency with each other, and to learn from one another, from the animals, the trees, the plants, everything we're talking about.
Everything in our environment.
And so to me, the most important message to each person who comes to me is you have the power within yourself to seek wholeness, to be who you truly are. And that my job is to help that person move through the fears that keep him or her from being true to themselves, being their true selves. Because we all have that, every one of us.
I've heard it said that we are here to remember who we are, to remember, and all our teachers, the people that we run into, and ourselves included, are here to help other people to remember who we are.
We're born with perfect knowledge. We just don't know how to access
Exactly, to get in touch with it. That's true. What is Mary L. healing, Greg?
Mary L. healing was taught by Ethel Lombardi. Ethel was one of the very first Reiki masters in the country back in the 50s. She was trained by Tanaka, I believe her name was, from Hawaii. She taught 10 people, and Ethel was one of the 10 people to bring Reiki into the country. So I was trained by her. She had a miraculous healing where she saw the Virgin Mary come in. And so she decided to change the name of Reiki, and she changed the format also in it, and she called it Mary L., which means the healing of Mary. And so I was trained with Ethel.
You know, I'll tell you, there is so much more I want to ask both of you, and I hope, would you consider coming back on the show another time?
This is great.
Sure. This is fun. I'm having a great time. I'm thinking of all things I wish I had thought to say.
I'm thinking too, like all the ceremonies that we could talk about.
There's so much we can talk about, maybe even a couple more times, but definitely we're going to make some more arrangements to have you come back.
Okay.
That would be terrific. That would be terrific.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. So we're going to find out where your church and your center is, and how people can get in touch with you, and how they can get in touch with you. So this is great. We're going to put that on the screen.
Put the contact information up.
And
Judy Peluso.
There I am.
There it is.
And you can contact her at www.judypeluso.com, and her number is 203-468-1600.
Okay.
And our contact information for
Gregory
is www.thecenterpole.com, and his number is 860-344-9531. Okay, so any final thoughts for our audience? Anything you'd like to send them on their way with?
Yeah, just that the universe is alive, you're alive, and the answers you're looking for, you'll never find in your head. You're only going to find them in your heart. And so it's an unreasonable love that we're looking for, a love that has no reason, it just exists.
That's right.
And there it is.
Well said.
Well
Any
said.
thoughts, Judy?
Well, I would echo what Gregory just said, that it's finding our hearts, which is where we speak the truth from our souls. And don't let people discourage you from being who you are.
Fantastic.
That's
Well,
true.
I want to thank you both for coming tonight.
Yes.
Give you a
Thank
There's
you.
so much.
handshake, and
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
for having
much.
us. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you
Rose.
so very much. It's been wonderful.
Okay, and if you would like to contact Rosemary or myself, here's our information. You can email us your questions. Any questions you have regarding alternative healing or our shows, or if you have a question specific to this episode, feel free to email us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com. And if you're interested in show schedules, you can visit us at www.entirebeing.com. And also, if you'd like to contact us personally, Rosemary's number is 203-627-7966, and mine is 203-232-3405.
And I would like to mention that coming in January or probably February, I'm going to start some classes on spirituality, combining things we've talked about here and the difference between spirituality and religion, and some questions that you've always wanted to have answered for you. I have a lot of answers for you on this. And
our quote for tonight is?
Our quote for tonight is, "The heart, watered by tears, born of self-pity, slowly hardens and turns to stone."
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much. Good night.
See the truth, darkness fades.